Okay, well, I'm going to, as we get ready to put our first kind of opening piece of music on, I'd just like to let you know that it's Ricky Byers, one of her chants, and I chose it because it is a chant. And so I recommend for all of us that we kind of just let it wash over us. It may wash in different ways with different things, but just kind of treat this as our opening to our time together. So we will let David commence the first piece of music here for us.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the love. We let the love. We let the love wash over us. Wash over us. We let it be. Ooh, yeah. Let the love. We let the love. Oh, the love. Wash over us.
That was Arne doing the slow version of Let It Be, the non-reggae version.
Oh, she's such an amazing performer in what she does with choirs. I'm so grateful to see all of your smiling faces, so many of whom I know and many of whom I fill a heart space with, regardless of meeting in person. But um, just the fact that you made the space and the time to gather with our intent to help the world in some way, to feel that our prayers can make a difference, that we can listen into what we have to offer, what we have to see is big. And that space of staying grateful for me is a very wonderful way to enter kind of what we will be doing together in the next hour. I think I said some of this in my introduction, if you what you signed on for, if you will. I first heard a phrase from a letter written by Mary Baker Eddy when I was attending a conference years ago. Um, and in it, she asked to live for all mankind. And it's funny, I was living in Portland, Oregon at the time, and a very, very hectic lifestyle of a CPA in a firm that seemed to be having all kinds of issues. And yet I felt called to make this little space in this upper room of an attic that we had to just find a way to somehow get quiet and pray. And I got to tell you, it's been a lifelong adventure because I realized one of the biggest pieces for me that I needed continued practice with is that getting quiet and that space that I was able to practice with and find. And so that's kind of the genesis of what I would like to share with you this evening. And kind of the outline or design, if you will, is to have a chance to give you kind of some of the whys and wheres and just sort of a generic outline, if you will, of how it works. I've provided, or our wonderful tech guy, David, I think has provided on the chat, perhaps one of the handouts that I made. So you don't really have to take any notes. It's something kind of like the intro song. I like the sense that helps me a lot in my own prayerful work, is to kind of let something wash over me. Just kind of keep letting it wash over me. I love the ocean anyway. And so to me, it's sort of an oceanic metaphor that it just keeps washing, sort of. So let this some of these ideas wash over you. You will have it as a handout if you want it. And then we will try some of it in live time together. I will serve as sort of your guide through a guided prayer that we will do from something that sprang to me out of the headlines of the last many months, I guess. And then we'll have an opportunity to kind of debrief it, talking together in maybe smaller groups. We'll see how that works with our current size. It might be something we can handle all as a group together. And if not, then we will have small groups. We'll come back together as a large group, and then we'll end our evening with another send-off piece, I think, that might kind of pull it together. So I call this praying for the world through a metaphysical lens, because this form of what I'm offering to you was offered to me in a way to get to a higher space than what I often did in traditional prayers, which asked for changes, okay, or asked for help in some sort of way. And of course, this is asking for a sense of help. But the primary piece for me has always been, in practicing it, is learning how to get up to a higher point of view. Okay. I've always loved going upstairs in something and looking out of a couple stories, or upstairs in a 12th floor of a high building, or up in a treetop. So it's the ability to try to get up above the noise, up above the traffic, up above the day-to-day. I heard a good phrase today in another meeting I was in, and it said that the truth lives beyond confusion and paradox. And I realized so much of my own wrestlings with what I'm trying to see as true is either in a confused state of mind, or I've accepted the paradox. It seems to be this and it seems to be that. And I love the thought that my additional leanings need to be above or beyond just any kind of confusion or even paradox. There may be a bigger answer that takes me beyond that. So in this higher view, you've got to make space. Again, that space for me has been more of a listening. Breathing sometimes is the way to get there. Music. It's being willing to listen, to ask the divine, whatever word you use for that. And please do insert your own. For me, using the word God comes quite naturally and easily, but it's always pointing me towards this bigger understanding of what is a presence, an ever present presence that is all good, that is exclusively good and inclusive of all. And so it's asking for a shift in perspective to see if I can see more from that divine point of view in a higher perspective over the weeds and the waves. And at the same time, it's a very humbling sense because I have such a strong inner roommate that is so convinced of its rightness many times that it just wants to argue. So my ability to really humbly bow to that perspective, to say that I will be a witness to what I'm being shown by this higher presence, and at the same time to really kind of open myself to acknowledging God's allness. That's what it takes, I think, to get ready for this. The why, I mean, I think we all could put a lot of different things in for why. I've always loved the Einstein quote, and I don't have it verbatim, but that you can't possibly solve a problem from the point of view or the consciousness that created it. You know, you're just kind of stuck in an eddy of blame or, oh, woe is me or whatever else. But you've got to find a way higher than, or a point of view or consciousness that's bigger than what seemed to create whatever's going on that isn't what we need or want. And the reason, the other why for me is it's just it's so much we have to be willing to ask the right questions. I find for me many times the first thing, if I don't watch it, is who goofed up, and a lot of times it's just a blame game. And so that's not necessarily we may need to eventually find that out, but what I have found for myself is it's not necessarily who messed up, but how can I see this in a way that I see that more of the divine order, or that I see that what's really kind of going on. The other piece that I would share with you is the concept of when or where is this a practice that I found helpful. It started out for me being kind of bookends, I would say. I would find a little bit of space at the beginning and at the end of what I called the day, which was good, as a way to kind of try to see more clearly what was really going on. Sometimes it would be if I was anticipating something in the day that wasn't what I was hoping for or was worried about, I could get my piece of seeing what was really what I thought God was seeing in that. Or at the end, when I'd had a track record of stuff I didn't think worked like I should or could, it was a wonderful chance to bring that to what I call my upper room. I have grown, though, to see that it's more important for me many times to do it right when I get overwhelmed, right when something confronts me, or right when the problem seems to smack me in the face. Now, I have to admit that's not something I'm able to do very often. It's growing with practice, where I'm at least becoming more aware, and I'll just say to myself, like, oh my gosh, this needs the upper room, or just trigger with myself something like, this is not, you're spinning right now. You want to make sure you're giving this a little bit of space. And so it's led me to realize it's maybe, in Paul, all of his different writings, this one being supposedly really was attributed to him, the letter he first wrote, which was to the people in Thessalonica. And one of the things he said is pray without ceasing, which I know in a lot of my early spiritual practice, I thought, what are you supposed to do? Because, my sense of prayer was eyes closed, quiet somewhere, not away, away from all the maddening throng. And I realized, when you look at his life, he didn't have much of that going on. So I've now begun to realize, I think, that that's maybe the best where for this is everywhere, anytime. It's asking to see what God sees, And then the how, which we're going to, in just a couple minutes here, we're going to try together to do together, if you will, is this the sense of how. And I think I set us up a little for it at the beginning here, is finding a place or a way that you can get into being still and being grateful. It can come with music, poems. For some people, it's dancing. For some people, it's singing themselves, walking through nature, watching your little critters play someplace, reading a favorite passage from something. It can be, sacred writings. It can be Dickens. I mean, it's just amazing how inspiration can flow through to us. But that it's finding that entry in, which of course includes your yes, and as you said tonight, a yes to show up for this. That's the start. Then I find the next big step for myself is trying to, what I would say, just clear off my mental table. Because many times the reason I'm going into my space, which more and more often, as I said, has been when I'm in the midst of something, is I realize that what's sitting there on the table, what seems to be ugly, what seems to have me by the throat, what seems to have me wrestling with things that all I can do is argue or think of something cruel to say back to whatever was being said by the outside conversation. And I realize if it's not coming directly from God, which none of that would, then that's what at that moment I have to put off the table. Now I'm sharing this with you because so much of this has just been my own inner work. And I recognize that we each are being tasked to do more things perhaps for the world, in the ways of the world, and yet not fully be of the world. In other words, we're maybe being asked to take things to a higher level of our own understanding. And in the midst of seeming chaos, be able and willing to know that we are still centered, that we are still held in the calm that's always present. So I'm not trying to discount that we need to deal with things. What I'm trying to share is that I find this space of kind of getting into my upper room and opening myself to what God is sharing with me, shares with everybody, shares to absolutely all creation. I know my dogs through the years have heard direct angel messages, my cats. I mean, I don't think there's any sentient being that isn't in direct communication with the divine, with the one. But it's that clearing of thought that really helps me see how much kind of was cluttering the table to begin with, okay? At the same time, I want to make sure that I don't leave the table empty, because that sometimes can be a problem as well. You clear everything out, and then you kind of find that you've done this maybe in your own home. If you aren't careful, before long, stuff just all piled back on there. So I have to make sure I purposely place things back on my table of consciousness. I want to place back on there that my gratitude. I want to place back on there my sense that God's plan is complete, that good is here, that I'm asking to see that. So I want to replace it, if you will. And then I really, 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 really want to listen. I've recently come up with being wrapped in the L's, the 4 L's. I want to make sure I have the ability to listen. I want to then make sure I can really lean in, which to me is a part of that listening. Am I really intently trying to hear? I want to let what I hear direct me, let, but not argue. No, well, what about blah, blah, let it be. And then I got to love my way through it. I've got to love my way even through the arguing voices, in a sense. It's just more good opportunity for polishing my inherent qualities. I think the qualities we each have. So I stay with that listening and not arguing. Hard for me. I'm a pretty good arguer. And I would say the other biggie is to find a way through the end, when we'll get to this, to find your peace, whatever that is. And sometimes it's just a moment. Sometimes it's just a hairbreadth, but it's a peace that you can bow before, giving it whatever name you want to give it, and realize that you are in the presence. You always are, but right that moment, you're in the presence of the healing, living Christ. You can acknowledge that all is well, and all is well, and all will be well, before anything maybe seems to have changed, because that peace that you have found, that moment that can expand, is what will then lead you, as I leave these kinds of things, to an outward sense of such gratitude. Gratitude even for those times when nothing seems to have landed. I can still always end by being so grateful for knowing that no matter what, the evidence seems to be all is well, the divine fractal is in order, nothing's going on but God good. So, from this platform, I invite you to settle in. I'm going to, this is not, traditionally, this is something we would do for ourselves, but as an offering here tonight, as a way for you to kind of see what I'm sharing, I'm offering to guide us through a bit of this upper room praying for the world through a metaphysical lens. And I'm going to do that for us over probably the next 12 minutes, okay? And if there's something additionally you're wanting to bring into your own, if something comes to you from this, from your own prayers, please, please, that's as much a spirit directive as anything I'm sharing. So I'm just going to lead us through what's coming to me as we're sitting here together. So I now just ask you settle in as you best can. Oh, Mother, Father, all, I put out here in the upper room the claim of seeing so much division, so much polarization, so many claims of lines in the sand. I put all of that out and ask to hear, to see, to feel what you would have us know, what you would have us understand about any of this activity. I hear you saying, you are mine. No one is absent from me. I know the thoughts I think towards you, thoughts of peace. So I thank you for that insight. And from that sense of peace, I ask to know more of what I can see that's real when the current picture seems to show such division. I see that many are called to do what they feel is best for themselves. I can feel and know for myself that you are the one in control. Divine love alone controls and governs. That no one can be led by their personal animosity, their personal cheerleading. They can be led and can hear your inclusive guidance. That as we let that love wash over us, we can feel lifted up. We can feel included. We can see with eyes of love. We can recognize that each and every one of us comes from you, from the source of all good. We call each other brothers and sisters. We can see each with a brotherly, sisterly eye. We can know that your care can't be divided, can't be for some and not for others. So we can pray to know and see that that exists, that that is here and now present. No one is beyond your care. No one is outside of your jurisdiction. Our ability to know and see how we can be of service, how we can help, how we can heal is hardwired. It may seem buried, it may seem deep, but it is ours because you said so. We are each, every one, called by name by you. That would include those we don't agree with, those that seem to be on opposite sides of the divide. One source, one parent. And what we need to hear and know and see, we have beyond words or thoughts. It can land and light us up, shine through us. Let what we be serve as that comfort. Resting here in this place of being, knowing that the doing can follow, the human steps can be what they need to be, and they may be in a way we cannot yet have predicted, but we will know and hear a place to walk, a way to turn, a call to make. That amazing inner guidance, all one family, we. No right way, no wrong way, just your way today for each and every sentient being, each and every part of the family of creation. We are so grateful for this opportunity. to sit together for some moments. To open ourselves. To hear what lands for us, whether as a whisper or a nudge or a smile, or just a little stillness. You know the angels that we need and send them to our side, as one of the hymns says that I like. Those angels that show up as darling rescue cats and birds that are lost and family members that need your help and lines from a great TV show. Thank you for those angels. Angels abound. And we are grateful always to have this opportunity to care. For it is in caring that we feel cared for. That is our blessing. We each know it in different ways. We're each called to it in different ways. Our life calls us in different ways at different times. That's the joy and the beauty of the immensity and the spontaneity and the freedom that we each embody as your expression. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think I'll call us back into a little bit of our larger group now, as you let things kind of settle over you. My design had been for us to have smaller little dyads or triads to kind of share or what the process may have been for us, or what we may have even encountered or heard, and then come back together as a larger group. And you'll have about 3 or 4 minutes each person to talk.
Okay, here we go.
Hello. You are muted.
Right.
Would you like to start or should I?
No, go ahead.
Thanks. So I was very moved by what Martha explained about her process, because it's my process also. And I was especially moved that she said what she ends up with is gratitude. I found it really powerful that she talked about the divide right away, about the difference, about the challenge, that we are in divided times, which certainly brings to light that the only way to get through it is by having faith, that there's a purpose to this divide. That my impression is that things are being highlighted, things I never knew about, things that really are upsetting and motivating me to hear the call to step up and do something, to become much more verbal and politically active and environmentally aware of my impact on this world, because I want my great-grandchildren to have clean water and clean air. So to be able to bring that immediately into her prayer, and it kept going back to me that I do have faith And that's what we need in times like this, that whatever we call the divine exists, and that we will get through this, that this all has a purpose. And I'm left with profound gratitude to be alive at this time and to have my faith challenged a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm complete.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I have to say it was, I found it just beautifully, I felt the energy was just beautiful that she called into as she prepared. I love the way she described again her process for preparing what she called the upper room. And I love that expression that I've heard her use. And just clearing the table. I like that metaphor she used also, clearing the table so that you can be open to whatever happens during the prayer. I know when I pray, I often take time at the beginning just to connect with the energy, the divine energy. So I always say to whoever I'm praying with, it's take a moment to just feel that wonderful energy. And I think that's what I interpreted as clearing the table, just connecting with that energy. And I also like that she talked about the angels that are called in and that they can take many forms, many different forms during our prayer time. And through all sentient beings can be part of that wonderful energy. And yeah, and I too felt the gratitude of being able to take this time to be in prayer, because I think it's very, very important now that we all of us who are called to do take the time to pray, and that we take the time to pray for our world. I often, I have because I'm a prayer partner in our spiritual community, I have a list of people that I generally pray for, but I don't always remember to pray for the world. And we certainly need it now. So it was a good reminder of to do that. Yeah. Yeah, because seeing the big picture, we're all part of whatever this energy is around us. We're all part of that too. And yeah, so I took that away.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. I have a morning prayer partner also. We've been praying together for it's 20 years now, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
She was in seminary with me, and we run the gamut from petition if something's up, like my daughter signs the contract on her house, to, for me, my main spiritual practice is gratitude, so just amazing gratitude. And I would say that we do pray for others, but we always pray for the world and the politicians and just for life, that life continues and harmony.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Where do you live?
I live in San Diego.
I'm in Manhattan, in New York City.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, beautiful.
And are you a One Spirit grad?
I'm not, no. I'm part of the Unity community, and Martha and Gary were part of that community for a while. So that's how I met Martha. So yeah, and our spiritual community has a prayer ministry. So I'm part of the ministry. So yeah, that's such a powerful tool that we all have.
Yes, my prayer partner is a One Spirit graduate, but she's also a Unity. Her affiliation, her ministerial affiliation is with Unity, and she has a long list of people that she prays with and for. And I'm very blessed that she and I have been doing this for so long, because she is a powerful, powerful prayer partner.
Yeah. I know. I've noticed that, when the Unity has a 24-hour prayer ministry, and people, you know, and I have called myself for prayer support any time of the day or night. And it's always amazing to me that the person on the other end of the line knows exactly, I mean, you say your prayer request, but they know exactly how to respond, so that you leave just feeling like everything's all is well, as Martha said in her prayer, all is well, all is well. And just kind of a wonderful service to be reminded of that. Yeah.
Yes, it is a great service. And as I said, I'm really blessed that she does this with me. We do it every weekday morning. And actually, she's a teacher. So during COVID, we didn't, because she didn't have to travel to work. So she didn't have to get up so early.
Yeah.
So by the time she's available to pray, I've already started my day.
Right.
So now we've switched to evenings. And it actually does change the day. I miss it in the morning.
I would think so too. Yeah, I know I do. I don't know if you're familiar with Julia Cameron's work and the
Yeah.
morning pages.
Yeah.
I generally start my day with the morning pages, and many times the morning pages are prayer time for me. I write out prayers through the morning pages. And if I don't, you're right. And I also put down my priorities for the day. And if I don't, I notice the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice meeting you and sharing.
It was lovely meeting you. When I used to have to leave my apartment to go to work, I would spend not only the time on the phone with my prayer partner, but then it was a 20-minute walk. And that entire time I was in conversation with God.
Oh,
And it was amazing.
yeah,
It was just amazing.
great.
Enjoy the rest of our evening.
Thank you.
I'll see you in the big room.
Right. Bye-bye.
It's fun to see everybody filing back into the room, back in the old lingo we would use with that sort of stuff. So I think we're back. Okay, and I think, David, you can correct me if I'm wrong with this, but I think what we can do now, we'll just sort of use some of this time that remains. May go a little over. We'll just see how it works. If you've got anything that you would love to share with the whole room that came out of your conversations, either parts of the process, parts of your findings, whatever that comes to you that you'd like to share. I just think there is some real joy in having that brought to all of us. And then we will finish with a short blessing, but then also another piece of music to kind of send us on our way. So we may go slightly after. I'll just wait and see. But if you need to go at 5, please feel free. That you've done a wonderful job of being here for the time you were here. So without further ado, I think David recommended I could do this. I can just you're able to unmute yourselves if you have something to share. Enough of the screen is such I can see everybody, so I can just kind of call you out as you wave at me on the screen. And if a bunch of you wave all at once, then I'll try and do a little bit of a pecking order. So the floor is now open if anyone has something they want to contribute. Susie, Reverend Susie.
I'm happy to share. I was holding off because I shared for the video. It was very powerful, a very powerful experience. What moved me so much was that you were willing to talk immediately about the divide, about what's up in the world. And what I realized is that it takes a lot of faith. It really takes a lot of faith and trust to know that we are all in God's hands, and that whatever's coming up, there is a divine reason for it. Whether it's so we all find our voice and show up, whether it's so we realize where we've participated in the harm to the earth, to other people. Your prayer really made me realize how much faith I have and how much faith we need. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Elizabeth, I think you can unmute you there. Oh, good.
Yeah. I liked the aspect that you could have gratitude and give thanks. And I loved the idea of seeing it through God's eyes, and how, boy, that just looks so different when you think about it that way. And there is, and it was lovely to be able to have an opportunity to pray for the world, because much as I have good intentions around these things, I'm not very self-disciplined, so I am going to try and get a new routine and do that on a more regular basis. So thank you.
Thank you. Annie?
Yeah, thank you so much for leading us in prayer. It was just so calming to hear you slowly, offering up what needed to be looked at and listening, how you were guided to share. And it was just a wonderful model for me. What really resonated for me regarding the divide, because I get caught up in that argument in my mind a lot, was to see us as one family. And that just brought the love back in for each of us, no matter what side we seem to be on, that we're all just one big family. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Martha, for providing that space. And just, I appreciated the shift. I love guided meditation because it does fuel new ways for me of looking at things. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate joining together with others in coming together for the world. So appreciate your being here tonight. It's always good to see you.
Ditto.
I will say just a few more. Yes, thank you. I appreciated it so much also. And I appreciated, your idea of clearing the table so that you can approach your prayer time, or if you're praying, whatever you're praying for, whomever you're praying for, and especially praying for our world during these divided times, that you can do it from a higher level of consciousness and awareness, not, maybe, so making sure that you're ready to approach it from that higher place, the upper room, as you call it, so wonderfully. So I appreciated being reminded of that, and like that. Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful we're not rushed in any sense, so I think we will continue to probably be able to have a close to timely end. I want to just send us off with a sense of blessing that I will share, and then the music, another form of letting it wash over you, but this one's the same songstress I just so get a lot from Ricky Byers and her music, but this is a little more energized, so we'll walk out with a ready to do it kind of thing. All right, so what came to me as a blessing for us all is really letting ourselves lean into those L's, to be so willing to listen intently, with interest, giving pause where we need, and then listening to letting, to leaning, to really leaning in to hear as you often do when someone's sharing something. And then from there, letting that really inform you. Let it lift you. Let it make you smile or sing or walk differently. Feeling again that it's love that's doing it. That capital L love that I think of as the same word as God. So we'll listen, we'll lean, we'll let, and we'll love. Thank you for this evening. Now we can have our final song, David.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me know that love is all around me. Oh, let me know that love is all around me. Oh, let me know that love is all around. Let me know that love is all around. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me learn from all the ways I fall. All the ways I fall. Oh, let me know that love will heal us all. Oh, let me walk each day a little wiser. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy
Love to everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good seeing everyone. Take
Good
care.
seeing everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Martha.
Thank you.
Nice meeting everyone.
you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you all.
Very